We begin with continued calls for change in an uncomfortable yet critical conversation. We've discussed before how bringing issues to light can help people dealing with the same trauma by letting them know they're not alone. Well, the light's been shining, but little has been done to help survivors of child sex abuse and assault in Missouri. We know the stories all too well, watching allegations from Agape's Boys School or the International House of Prayer in Kansas City or Epic Church in Independence, to name a few. Survivors of abuse have repeatedly come forward pleading for change.
Without amending the laws in Missouri, nothing can be done to stop these types of predators whose abuse is sophisticated enough to require many years to disentangle.
Just last year in Jefferson City, survivors begged Missouri politicians to do something to protect them and future victims. And they were able to move the needle a little bit. Missouri lawmakers passed Trey's Law, named after Trey Carlock, who was sexually abused as a child at the Kanaka camps in Branson and later took his own life. The law bans the use of non-disclosure agreements in cases of child sexual abuse. That is one of the issues affecting the fight for justice. Another involves the statute of limitations, the amount of time you have to prosecute a crime or file a lawsuit. Criminal sex abuse cases can move forward at any time in Missouri if the victim's underage, but there's a clock on civil suits. Most survivors have until age 31 to file civil claims against abusers and age 26 for other defendants. The problem is it takes many years to have the courage to come forward, which can make revisiting a case nearly impossible in Missouri. And you have to think, this is emotional. It's deeply personal, which makes it all the more frustrating for survivors when their requests repeatedly stall out at the state capitol. So this has become something of a yearly crusade for them. Survivors once again returned to Jeff City this past week, once again pressuring lawmakers to act on a couple of major changes. One, changing the statute of limitations. The other, letting survivors retroactively seek civil damages from their abusers. And this time, survivors say they feel like they're making some progress with politicians.
It was satisfying to be in there, and I'm honored to be there, to be a voice, because many people do not have a voice. They're not able to come forward. So I feel very privileged and honored to do that. But it's also disheartening that it's taken another 30 years that we aren't further along in this process.
Survivors say they'll continue to come back and press these issues for as long as it takes to protect victims of abuse. KMBC 9's Krista Taschel was at that hearing, joins us from the state capitol. Krista, we know you've been following this for a while, and we should say first off, this is not just about the statute of limitations we mentioned. There are two bills up for consideration right now.
There were. The Senate Joint Resolution 93, that actually passed out of committee. It was voted unanimously out of committee after several attempts and several sessions to get this to the Senate floor. That's where it's going to be going now for debate. The other bill, Senate Bill 1140, that has to do with eliminating the statute of limitations. That one did not pass out of committee at this time. They said the senator said that they needed more time to put in amendments to this bill. They will be hearing it and discussing it this week.
You mentioned the repeated attempts. That has to wear on the people and the survivors who keep coming to Jeff City hoping for some sort of help here.
You actually hit the nail on the head. The survivors that we have been speaking to for over a year now, they have been driving across the country. They are flying in if they do not live in Missouri, but some are driving up from southern Missouri, northern Missouri, to just have to tell their story of trauma over and over again. And it's interesting to note, when you are sitting in this Senate lounge is where it takes place, and you're watching these survivors go up to the mic, you see their hands shake with the paper, but as they're reading their statement, but they do it anyway. And the ones I've spoken to say, we're going to do this until it finally passes. And they say, why should the burden be on them to have to come back and say over and over and over again and talk about sexual abuse as a child?
We talk about just the holdup in Jeff City. What has been stalling these bills for the past couple of years?
It's a very simple explanation. Now I've seen it 2 years in a row. Insurance lobbyists in Missouri, they get a chance to come and oppose. If you've ever been to one of these hearings, you have people speaking in favor of bills, and then you have people speaking in opposition. And the only opposition that has come up is from the insurance lobby. They say that you shouldn't hold entire organizations responsible for civil liability. You should hold the abuser responsible. But the people that we have spoke to, national experts on sexual abuse, say that an insurance insurance companies are going to end up paying more if you don't punish those institutions. And a lot of this abuse happened within institutions and the leaders knowing that this was happening, and they did nothing to stop it. Some of those organizations are the International House of Prayer in Kansas City, Kanakuk Camps, the Boy Scouts of America, and there were also survivors testifying that had family abuse in their family that happened to them.
We talked about this last year when we were discussing their push in Jeff City. It's important, though, to address the scope of this problem as these new allegations, it seems, just keep coming to light, Krista.
It has been a nationwide and just a nationwide problem. And one of the experts I spoke to said this is an epidemic. 1 in 8 children will be sexually abused before they're 18. And if you think of a 3rd grade classroom, there are about 24 kids in a classroom. That's 3 children. 3 children that will be sexually abused before they're 18 years old. And there has been a nationwide movement specifically addressing clergy abuse, sexual abuse that happens in houses of religious worship or camps that have either a Christian basis or another religious affiliation. So those people are coming to talk, and a lot of these stories have been coming out now and made public across the nation.
What's next for these survivors? I mean, this is a constant mission for change. What are you hearing from them?
You know, these survivors are so authentic, so open, so willing to tell their story, even with those shaking hands. They have incredible courage that they display every time they come and tell their story. A lot of them advocate outside of just being in this Capitol building. They have advocacy groups that they work through, online advocacy. They support other survivors. They encourage other survivors to come forward to kind of bolster this effort. It is a non-stop effort for some of these survivors. They're always willing to talk to me, which I think is also brave, to put yourself in front of a camera and much less put yourself in front of a group of senators who are strangers and tell what happened to them, because they say every time they tell their story that when they speak, it helps them heal just a little bit more and gives them a little bit more confidence telling their story again, which they may have to do.
All right, yeah, deeply personal, and we appreciate them coming forward. We'll see what happens. KMBC 9's Krista Taschel at the state capitol. Krista, thank you for your continued coverage of this important topic. If you or someone you know needs help, you can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 800-656-4673, or you can chat with staffers at online.rainn.org. And count on KMBC 9 News and Heart of the Matter for continuing coverage of this push for progress. We'll bring you the latest developments on air and online at KMBC.com.